morning, everyone. My name is Amira Shakur, and I'm the Program Associate with WDN based in Washington, D.C. And today we are getting started with our Fireside Chat series, which I'm super excited to share with you all. Today is our first interview. Briefly, before we get started, I'm going to give a brief introduction on WDN. For over a decade, we've built a platform to connect aspiring and experienced women leaders from around the world, coalescing diverse, multi-sector groups of women and empowering them to meaningfully participate and take on leadership roles within the political process. Our reach now extends to more than 5,000 members in more than 80 countries and over 22 long-standing partner organizations, including 15 country chapters. Our Fireside Chat series is an informal chat series with senior women leaders in different walks of life about their career experiences and insights about the professional challenges that they've encountered. The informal format is designed to foster a discussion about the personal insights that go beyond professional experience and pragmatic responses. It is our belief that these are invaluable in giving support and inspiration to young women professionals at the beginning of their career. With that brief introduction, I would like to hand it to my colleague Rika, who will give a brief intro to our featured panelists today. Thank you.
Thank you, Amira, and hello to everyone. I'm very pleased and very excited to start this discussion series, especially with such a wonderful and formidable person of the Washington, D.C. Diplomatic community. It is my honor and pleasure, both professional and personal, to have this chat with this wonderful and most impressive personality, Ambassador of Monaco, Madame Maguy Maccario-Doyle, who has been in DC for a couple of years now, since 2013, right? So I'm very excited because if I may just very quickly say a little bit of your background, you have a fantastic experience behind coming to Washington, DC. You have been serving in the United States as ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary since 2013-14, and presented your credentials to the President Barack Obama in 2013, and but has been in the United States for longer than that, as you worked in New York prior to this, since 1994, if I am correct, as director for North America for Monaco's Global Tourist Office in New York. And as such, I think your background is connecting really, or has a potential of understanding the realities of business, tourism, as well as of diplomacy and politics. It's a very unique background, which I'm sure that has a wealth of experience. So Maggie, thank you very much for your time and for the possibility to have you as our interviewee. Can I jump into the questions for right away as an old friend? Mm-hmm. When you decided first to take your first job of responsibility, did you have any concern that it would be more difficult for you as a woman to fill that job in, than it would be for a man to get that position or to fill that position in?
Well, first of all, thank you, Rika. Thank you both for giving me the opportunity to participate in this fireside chat. I think it's also wonderful for me to be able to share with your listeners my professional experience and my career path. I think that promoting and encouraging leadership is so important, and you have to be really commended for this initiative. Investing in and nurturing young leaders in every country truly toughen the backbone of any society. So to better answer your question, I think I'd like to backtrack a little bit, because although I've been working most of my professional career for the government of Monaco, I truly did not start working for the government in foreign service to become a diplomat, but I started into the hospitality industry. And truly at a time when airline deregulation was just starting. So it was really something that revolutionized travel for the masses. And Monaco at that time was rebuilding its tourism infrastructure to welcome leisure and business travelers from international destination, and the US market was definitely a key market and a promising one. So we had just opened an antenna in New York for tourism. And the government of Monaco at the time was also focusing on developing young people to eventually become leaders. So I was given the opportunity to come to New York City. I must say that at the time, none of my peers were interested in traveling so far because New York was on the verge of bankruptcy. It was a very, very dangerous city. And, you have also to realize that at the time we didn't have cell phone, we didn't have internet communication, we didn't have Zoom call, so communication was very limited and very, very expensive. So you could feel very quickly isolated. So, but for me, I thought it was a wonderful opportunity to experience a new culture and to really master my craft in the travel and tourism industry over the years to eventually become the first woman to be named head of the Tourism and Convention Bureau for the Principality of Monaco in North America. So this was my first leadership job. And to answer your question, I didn't think that a male nominee would have had an easier job. I think that the obstacle came mainly from age perception. The fact that I was young and I was also a woman, and most of the people that were working in the hospitality industry or even in my government were in role of leaderships were men, and there was definitely a patriarchal mentality that was very much intact in the mind of many of the senior officials or even senior professionals that I was dealing with. So as a young woman, I really had to prove not only to my superior, but to my peers that I could do the job and I could do it well. I had to communicate loud and clear my visions, my goals, and I had to do it many times over because as you know, the first time around, you're not always always heard. So as you know, Reka, climbing mountains is not easy for women in any fields, being into politics or finance or in media or even in diplomacy. There are still a lot of discrepancy, gender discrepancy in the workforce. And inequalities. I think we've done a lot of great stride today over the past maybe 15 years. I looked at, for instance, the hospitality industry and even the service financial industry or even real estate. I think 50%, women accounts for 50% of the workplace in those institutions. But when it comes down to women in leaderships, that's another matter. And when it comes down to also equal compensations, I think that women are not assessed on the same, women with leader women are not assessed on the same standard than men's are. So we still have a lot of things to change and do and to change our policies. And I believe, for instance, here in the United States, having a first women as vice president and to be able to have a balanced gender cabinet is already a good start.
Fantastic, exactly. It's so true of many of the difficulties that characterize our work environments. This really brings us to another question. What are the exact type of additional difficulties that you have seen that women have to face compared to men, maybe in your experience? So one of them is probably what you have just said, that you have to say your vision and what you believe in much more loud and much more frequently or more often or with more insistence. than men. Would that be correct? And
Yes.
would you see some other
Yes.
additional extra steps that you needed to do?
Yes. Yes, and that definitely is one of them. But I think that also today, women are evaluated against a masculine standard of leadership. So we are left with limited and unfavorable options, no matter how we behave and perform as leaders. And truly, there are three predicaments that put women in a double bind, and that can really undermine their potential for leaderships, as well as their options as well as their advancement options. So the first one I will say is extreme perceptions. For instance, women are perceived as too soft or too tough, but they're never just right.
So true. Oh my goodness.
The high competence threshold, we just talked about it earlier. Women leaders faces higher standards and lower rewards than men leaders. And that we see it today in a lot of sectors. Sometimes women's views are competent, but they're disliked. Women leaders are perceived as competent or liked, but rarely both. So for me personally, I think that women can bring so much to the workforce as leaders. If we would only embrace all that we are out of our work, with our family, with our communities, and more, we could bring a whole new level of leadership and insight and contributions.
So as women, women are more solutions oriented. We are natural multitasker. We have an innate nurturing instinct, and we tend to have personal connection with our colleagues, but yet we are held back when we leave to raise children, when we attempt to climb the professional ladder, and we are discriminating upon when equal compensation is concerned. So, I always wondered why is that? Is it because as a young age, men have are always over evaluating their values and women's are not? And is it that men then become victims of their own ego, that they have to win, they have to use power? And as women, we have a different attitudes towards we have our own way of negotiations. Because we've never been into a position of politics in the past, and still today some countries have no women in political power. We had to kind of use a different approach to get to come across, to use more like a subtle suggestions to put pressure on, to educate and put pressure on officials indirectly.
That is so interesting. Absolutely, very characteristic. Do you see in your career that this more subtle approach of approaching challenges or problems or confronting colleagues or finding a solution has put you in a disadvantage, or has it helped you? So does it work? If we have a series of experiences or decades of experience of using a more subtle approach.
Well, that's why it's so good to have both sides, because men are good at certain things and women are good at others, and I think it should be a balance. That's why, as I was mentioning earlier, here in the United States, if we have for the first time a gender balanced cabinet, that should really be a very good start. We have our own distinctive ways, style of negotiation as women. So we're very different that way than men, and we bring something else. But we need also the male approach. And as I mentioned earlier, we never really had, never is a big word. We because it's changing now for the past 10, 15, 20 years. But before, there was no women in business. There were no with role of leadership. So men were always our role model. So we adapted a masculine approach to our way of leading, and now it's finally changing. So yes, I think it's. I'm happy to see that we're on the right direction, on the right track.
Fantastic.
And I think it's also very important for women to support each other. I really want to stress the collaborative spirit between women. It's very important, which is not
Absolutely.
always, but it's not always the case. It's not always the case. You know, women can be also their worst enemies.
Yes, it's so true. Yeah, did you have a mentor or kind of a role model when you were young, when you started, when you were thinking of your future life, who would have helped you, or an inspiring person?
You know, it's a little bit different in my case. I was lucky to have both. I was lucky to have a woman as a mentor and a man as a sponsor. I think that there are keys, but they play different role when it comes to advancing your career. Uh, in my case, early in my career, when I was living in New York, I helped Princess Grace during her official and private visits, and she truly offered me great support and guidance early in my career. Her advice benefited me, and even though my relationship with the princess was very short because of her untimely death, her influence was key. So I can say that Princess Grace for me became a mentor. So I guess it is not really how long you have a mentor for, but really it's the impact that counts. And you know, you can have many mentors. They come in different shapes and form. Now, much later, it was our husband, Prince Rainier, who helped me advance my career. The prince gave me opportunities to expand my responsibilities, and for me, it was extremely motivating and rewarding to know that he believed in me and in my potential. Of course, I had to prove myself to him and deliver on performance by demonstrating visions with creative initiatives, gaining recognition for Monaco and achieving goals. So I can say that for me, Prince Rainier was my sponsor, and to him, I'm forever grateful.
Wonderful. So you would recommend people to look
I think,
support through mentors?
Yeah, I think it is important to have mentors and sponsor, because a sponsor will help you identify and take advantage of career opportunities. So having a career sponsor is critical if you want to advance your career. It is not just about who you know, but whom you know. And a mentor will give you advice, guidance, and support on how to develop your skills. But the sponsors help you get ahead. I think there was even a survey, a research done by Catalyst that found that women who have mentors are less likely to be promoted than women with sponsors. And in the case of men are more likely to have sponsors, mentors who advise and advocate using their sway to help protégés land high-level assignment and positions. And because women typically don't have sponsors, they don't advance as far or as fast.
Very interesting, very interesting. And how would you recommend something of how to get a sponsor, or how to go about it if you?
Well, yes, you need.
Or at the beginning of your career.
Yeah, you know, you need to. They have to be people of influence. They're the ones that are going to help you move forward. Of course, it's both ways. You know, I mean, they trust you because they see in you the potential of continuing their visions. So, but you need that if you want to move forward. Yes, definitely. You also, I think it's also important to play the office politics because they help you also gaining respect, recognitions, and moving forward. It's also important to build key relationship early if you're in an office. I think social capital is crucial. You do not just focus vertically on manager above you, but also horizontally with alliances, with colleagues that will help you and support you. You need also to invest in a network of people who can take you to the next level. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, I mean, avoidance of office politics leads to getting passed over. So that's also important to follow.
Thank you so much. Along the road, have you seen women professional organizations in your field and experience as a neutral or as a helpful, positive force, or as a problem because of too many obligations? Or how do you see these
Well,
organizations' role?
I think 100% yes, they are helpful because they provide community support and resources for women who share identities or experiences. They help give women the tools they need so they can thrive and advance in their professional careers. You are right. Yes, sometimes it's hard because there are a lot of them. Which one do you choose? How do you pick them? I think you need to you need to do your research, you need to do your homework, depending the professions that you're in and the career that you want to follow, etc. There are so many organizations out there that are helping women. Or, for instance, there is one, and I'll be happy to provide all this information to you later on, but there is Elevate Network.
Please do, thank you.
Yeah, Elevate is a women's career network of 80,000 women who gets together for events, resources, and helping each other succeed. The network provides young women with resources to help them navigate and advance in their career. There's also, depending where you are in your profession, are you a leader or are you working for someone? There is Catalyst. Catalyst is a research non-profit that work with CEOs and companies to make workplace work for women. They provide resources and service to help women trying to navigate their own careers and help companies attract and advance women in their workplace. For my side in diplomacy, you're familiar with it, Reka, there was the Women Foreign Policy Group that helps promote women's leadership in international affairs. There's also Very Good Boss, provides jobs and company reviews specifically given by women for women. It answers helpful questions that are important to women in the workplace. For instance, do they have maternity leave, etc., all those type of questions. And there is another one called Makers. This is a women's leadership platform that highlights the stories of groundbreaking women today to create the leaders of tomorrow. It is the largest collection of women's story ever assembled. So Makers encompasses broadcast documentary, web and mobile, first video content, and live events.
Fascinating. Thank you so much. I'm intrigued by one little or important element that you mentioned also. It's that in many cases, women can be really unhelpful to each other's career. Have you encountered that, and what has been your experience with women helping you or more causing a difficulty? Apart from the organization or these organizations.
No, it's been both ways. It's there's a lot of competitions between women, and I don't know. I've been asking that question to myself for a lot of time. Is it because we as young people, I mean, my generations, we didn't have the team sport. We not, like young men, much more team. They go together. It is changing. I see it in my own children. I see that women are more together, supporting each other, much more supportive. There's much more a community and a collaborative spirit. I came from another generation, few decades ago. It was a different approach. Definitely, it was a different approach. Yeah.
So interesting.
But it is changing and for the best. Yeah.
And it is probably also changing through these organizations that you mentioned. Thank you so much for telling about that.
You need to know you're not alone, that they're there and they exist. And that's something that is so important that I didn't have when I was starting, definitely. When I first came in the United States, I wish there was an organization. Yeah. It was, I was young and it was a lot of professionals that were all men, and it was difficult. It was scary at that time, a little bit.
Yeah. So as a last bit of a question, would you have 3 main pieces of advice to young women today at the beginning of their career?
Yes, you know what I want to say is that, most of us do not get a tap on our shoulder one day saying, okay, go on, now you're a leader. For me, it was something that I developed over time as opportunities came my way. I learned from their experience. I gained confidence on my abilities, and I got feedback. And truly, one day I realized that that there were things that I was good at, that I was developing a track record on. And truly it starts, I think it's a belief, it's a mindset shift of removing your self-imposed limits. None of us belongs to a box, and it is important to allow ourselves, all young women, all your listeners, to explore all that they might be outside of that box. So I will say, take initiatives and have resilience, be self-reflective, open to critical, constructive feedbacks, and learn from every experience to deepen confidence in your abilities.
What a fantastic note to finish our discussion on. It's been extremely inspiring, and I very much appreciate your time and the possibility. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure to be part of this. Thank you both for having me. And whenever you wish to go on with another type of discussions, I'll be delighted to join you.
Wonderful. I'm sure we will have questions in the future as well. So we'll take up on that offer. Thank you so much, Madam Ambassador. I really appreciate your time and the insights, and look forward to continuing the discussion as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rika. Thank you both. Thank you.